Good morning and welcome to The Point. It is Monday, April 26, 2021. Thank you to those of you joining us on the GBN, Grenada Broadcasting Network's Facebook page, the GBN Production YouTube channel, the website www.gbn.gd, GBN TV channel 7, 11 and 20. Good morning to the listeners of Classic 105.5, 105.9 and the viewers on Party Grenada and Go to FET Facebook pages. Thank you so much for tuning in to The Point. And this morning, the topic that we're going with is protecting our children. I have joining me as my virtual guest is clinical psychologist, Dr. Augustine Panchoo. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning, Blossom, and good morning to all of our listeners out there, both on television and on radio. It's really good to be able to share with you this morning.
Always a pleasure having you. And before we get into it, happy belated birthday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I had a really great week this past week, and then yesterday was the birthday celebration with food and fun.
Food and fun are two great combinations.
Yeah.
So, Doc, this morning we're talking about protecting our children, and this idea really came up following a post that I saw on your social media. And that's why I really got the title, Protecting Our Children. And let me start by asking, you made a post on social media over the weekend in relation to a judgment that was recently handed down. And I know you have to be very, cautious about the information you reveal, but just really tell us the basis for the post, and then we're going to get into some of the details that I want us to cover this morning. Okay.
Well, the post came based upon reports from the court that a past teacher who had a sexual relationship with a minor student received 5 years as a sentence, and that to me, when I looked at the magnitude of what happened, because here is a teacher who agreed to give lessons to the student, and the agreement was to have the lessons at the school, but somehow he was able to get the student to come to his place of residence to have lessons, and it is while she was at his place of residence that he sexually perpetrated his adult self on her, not just once, and I'm not trying to minimize anything, but twice he did that. And for me, what he did is tantamount to predatory behavior. That's what predators do. They pounce upon opportunities and they create opportunities. And he was calculating enough to be able to get her to come to his house. Of course, I'm sure the parents knew, because they're thinking that the child is safe. And he got her into his house and then perpetrated himself, forced himself on her. And he got 5 years. Now, I think the law, and we have to be very cautious here about law. So the law states that he can get up to 15 years. But watch this. This is where I am not an attorney. I am not in the judicial system, but it bothers me because the law allows that if a criminal pleads guilty, then automatically he is opting to have his sentence reduced by a third. And the report, here is what the report says. The report says that there were 3 things that the judge considered before handing down the sentence. 1, he pleaded guilty. 2, it was his first time offense. And 3, because he had a medical condition of hearing loss or hard of hearing. And I don't know that a first time offense is warrant or guaranteed that he or she should have a reduced sentence. I mean, what if it was murder? What if it was one of the most gruesome crimes? In fact, but this is a gruesome crime. This is from the psychological aspect. What I'm saying here is that we tend to think murder and manslaughter, etc. Oh, these are the gruesome crimes. No, raping of a child is a gruesome offense. It's a crime. And to get 5 years as an adult, it kind of bewildered me. And so that's why I wrote my post, because I'm trying to get the attention of the judicial system, of the Department of the Public Prosecution Department, the DPP's office, the Solicitor General, the Attorney General, even maybe the Prime Minister, the Minister for Social Development, the Women's Affairs, Children Affairs, whatever ministry that is affiliated to protecting children and the vulnerable population. The judicial system must have more teeth, more substance in how they mete out justice. And in my own way of thinking, 5 years is really not enough of a custodial time for raping a child. And I know I've said a whole lot. Huh?
No, that's fine. That's perfectly fine, because I think that's too why I came up with the protecting our children, because too often we're hearing of sentences handed down in cases involving minor, whether it be sexual in nature or other abuse. And the sentences handed down seems to be like a slap on the wrist for the perpetrators. I recall, maybe about 2 years ago, when the man was fined and he left the island. He paid a fine and he left the island. And it just seems like the legal system, the justice system, is failing our children. I mean, and it's not all the time that the sentences would be quote unquote light, but it's just like we're hearing it too often. So how can we protect our children, both legally, as parents and guardians, as teachers in these children's lives, and even as children's peers, because we have 14 and 15-year-old who may be able to handle protecting their peers. How can we protect our children?
Yeah, a very good question. And protecting our children must be a community affair. It is a community affair. And I'm going to say it again. Why is it a community affair? Well, it is a community affair because children, under the United Nations protection of children is a protected population. The elderly, children, they are protected. And why do we need to protect our children? Well, let's look at the physiological, psychological, and emotional development of a child. Let's start there first. Okay, so we have a lot to say. One, we recognize that children are vulnerable because children do not have the cognitive capacity. Children I'm talking about generally do not have the cognitive capacity to make many life decisions, long-term decisions. They're vulnerable, they're flippant, and it's not because it is because they're not exposed to a lot of information. They do not have experience to back that up. As adults, we're hoping that life has taught us lessons, and we have read, we have gone to school, we see, we read, we understand. Cognitively, we can capture the essence of life's decisions. Children do not have that luxury. Some may be a little advanced more than others, that's a given. But generally, children are very vulnerable. They look to adults, and that's the thing about it. Children look for safety and security, and they are trusting because life's experience have not taught them yet to mistrust the world. So generally, they're very trusting, they're vulnerable, they can be manipulated easily. And so we have to understand that about the development of the child. That's why it becomes a community decision to protect our children. because a parent may and can do a lot of things of teaching children about stranger danger, teaching them how to say no, teaching them how to stand up to them, to bullying, teaching them how to respect people. Parents can do all of that and prepare their child for life. However, the very nature of a child's developmental capacity still puts him in a vulnerable position. Because a parent may do so much, but then they go to school. They interact with their peers. They see teachers who they like and they want to emulate. They go to the doctor's office. They see a police officer. They see a nurse. They see an attorney. And they're captured and captivated by the aura and by the life of these people. And so they're still vulnerable. So it becomes a societal issue to protect our children, not just the parents. Now, the parents really, they do have a whole lot of responsibilities in teaching their children how to safeguard themselves and how to protect themselves. But then we have the community by extension, and that's you, Blossom, what you do on radio, how you treat children, how you when you drive, how you respect them, how you honor children by protecting them. Okay, you protect them by honoring them. That's what I wanted to say. So the community by extension, parents, community. But then there is an extension of the community that I really want to talk about. And I think that was the essence of my post, is that in every society, there are laws, there are protocols, and there are civil expectations for behaviors when it comes to children. And the judicial system must play a pivotal role in ensuring that there are laws adequate enough to protect our children. By one, maybe educating. Two, by ensuring that perpetrators of sexual crime and other violence against children are dealt with, one, decidedly, and in a manner that will serve as a deterrent for those who are thinking of hurting children. Okay? And it is really, really, really important. There is a little caveat that I want to mention now since I remembered it. The incident, Blossom and listeners, the rape of this child, I don't know her name, and I'm not interested in knowing her name, happened in 2012 or 2013. It is now 7 or 8 years later. 8 years later, that young child is now an adult. So think of 7 years waiting for justice, waiting for closure, waiting for a moment of relief when you see justice being done to the perpetrator and the criminal. He is a criminal. Okay? So this child was waiting. This child has been robbed of a significant portion of her life as a child, and she is going to be robbed of a significant portion of her life as an adult. Think of the mistrust that she may have for men, good men that are going to come through her life, but scarred by a man, a criminal, with whom and for whom she had respect and trust and felt safe. He betrayed that. And because of his betrayal, he has now put her in a position where she may find it difficult to now trust other men. See what one person can do, what harm he can do. And so for me, not only do I think that the sentence was light, but it is because of the law. We're taking Blossom, we're taking our personalities from here. It is not me, or it's not against his ladyship or any other judge. No, it's not about them. It's about the law and how the law can be manipulated, or how the law is not giving justice. And so one, the law needs to be fixed, Blossom. You ask how we can protect our children, fix the laws. And secondly, I believe 7 or 8 years is way too long to wait for justice. We have to have a system that prioritizes and expedite criminals like these. He should not have been out. He should have been in prison since 2013, serving 15 years. That's my take on it.
For a while, a matter of fact, we have had a number of activists for different causes, political, humanitarian, cruelty against animals, cruelty against people. But it doesn't seem like much is being affected by these protests, by these activists speaking out. For the people who want to, champion the cause for protecting our children, how can we do that? How can we step up a little bit on the activism and bring in awareness and ensuring that we enact change or effect change?
Very good question. Here is what historically has happened in Grenada, and maybe other places too. But let's talk about what has happened in Grenada. Every now and again, we have the community rallying around a cause when there is a violation of the rights of a child or other people. But specifically, we make reference to sexual or other heinous crimes against children. When that happens, remember Ariel, okay? And there have been others who have become victims of sexual crimes and other violence, and the society rally, we march, we get the Coalition on the Rights of the Child, we get social service, we get other legal entities and NGOs, we get them involved, and there is fire in our bones. And then the voices, they subside. And we go back to life as normal. And so your question is very pertinent, because we need more advocacy. There is no question that we need some voices that will speak loud and clear. We need voices in Parliament. We need voices in the legal and the judicial system. We need voices in the community in general. We need voices from the NGOs and from the trade unions and from other significant organizations in Grenada. And of course, we need voices like yours, and maybe mine to an extent, in radio and in print media and in television, that will advocate for the protection of our children. And we must do that continually and continuously. We have to get to the stage where we are sensitized to every act that violates the right of a child or the right of someone. We need to be able. You see, sometimes we pick battles. In Grenada, we like to pick a lot of political battles. We create them. We do not allow them to mature and for us to see what it is. Before we hear something, we fight with it, and because we have our agenda. And that's okay to have your agenda. I think all of us, we do. However, something like the protection of our children, protection of vulnerable population, women's rights, and the elderly, who these are protected populations. We collectively have to see it as human rights, civil rights, rights, not privileges. It therefore means that from whatever spectrum of society we represent or from where we come, we need to champion the rights of children. And if all of us play our part in championing the rights of children, politicians, attorneys, the judicial system will listen. They will listen. They will be compelled, as it were. They will be propelled to listen and to make changes. And the Senate, that's where all laws are made. Okay? And I listen to the senators. Come on, champion the cause. A senator, you have an appointment from the governor general to make a difference. I want to see, and maybe you, Blossom, or maybe some of us, I want to be included probably, can make a petition to the Senate. That's where the laws are made. Our senators, that's their role. That's part of their role, sorry. I don't want to minimize the role or give them what they're not supposed to. But that's part of the role, to institute, to create laws, backed by the judicial system and vetted by the people to protect. The people are crying. We need harsher laws. We need harsher punishment for sexual criminals against children. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Everybody, we're saying it. And I'm sure the judicial system is saying the same thing. But who is going to do it? Who is going to bell the cat? That's the question. We need the cat to be belled. And who is going to bell the cat? Our voices must be stronger. And there are opportunities for many people to take on the mantle and voice that we need to protect our children.
Speaking of protecting our children, the Bacolet Juvenile Center, what role does the organization, facility, play in helping protect our children from not just sexual abuse, but physical abuse, other difficulties that our children may be facing? What role does the center play, and can it be amped up a little bit?
Right. And really great question. Really great question. Part of my responsibility as a clinical psychologist for the government is to ensure that the psychological well-being of children placed at the Grand Bacolet Juvenile Rehabilitation and Treatment Center are catered for. And we serve the Grand Bacolet Juvenile Facility. We serve 3 different categories of residents. So we have juveniles who have been placed on remand. So they have violated the laws of our land. And they have not had due process, a court hearing, etc. yet. And so they are placed on remand with us. And then there are those who have committed offenses against society, and they have been sentenced. So they have had the due process in the law, in the court of law. And they're sentenced, some 6 months, 2 years, 3 years, or sometimes until they turn 18, because we serve a population from 12 to 18. So when they're 18, they're maxed out. And if there are any residual disciplinary measures that they need to undertake, it will either be at the prison or we do a non-residential treatment with them. But then there is a third category, and that's to answer the question that you asked about protection. A third category of children and juveniles that we get. These may be what we call severely emotionally disturbed children who have behavioral issues stemming from neglect and abuse. And they have been sent by a judge to Bacolet under what is called a care and protection order. So we as a facility provide safe housing, we provide therapeutic intervention, and we provide schooling for children who are being neglected and abused by adults. Sometimes, a lot of times, by even their parents or guardians. So we work with close alliance with Child Protection Authority, and they are the custodian of children and abused children in Grenada. And so when they get these children and they're removed from the home, they make a request to the judge for a care and protection order. And then the judge is the one who decides, yes, I want them to be kept safe at Grand Bacolet. And they send them to us. And when they come, we treat them. We provide therapeutic intervention to create an emotional balance because they have been abused. Some of them sexually abused, some of them physical. The whole gamut of abuse, some of them have experienced. And so when they come, they need a lot of psychological help. We provide that. Then there is the skills training that we prepare them for life. There is also the school that they go to school on campus. And we provide a safe environment where they can feel safe to thrive, where they have food, where they have a place to stay and to sleep, and where they have clothing and they have water and electricity. So we provide that for them. And the commissioning of the Grand Bacolet Center is a vision not just of the government, but of the OECS to protect children. And that's one avenue that we have used and we are going to continue to use to protect our children.
Let's take a break, Dr. Panchoo, and then we're going to come back and continue the discussion as well as field any questions that members of the public may have. This is To The Point on GBN Classic. We are discussing protecting our children. We'll be right back.
Do you hear what I hear? Listen to the ocean, and you will hear a cry for help. The ocean is hurting, and we are the source of the hurt. But we can stop and start to heal our ocean by preventing pollution from getting into our waterways. It can start with you. Join an active organization, or better yet, make a personal commitment. Commit not for just one day in the year, but for the rest of your life. Let's dispose of our plastic and other waste responsibly, and let's start building resilience. Let the healing begin.
This message is brought to you by the OECS Commission with funding from the Government of Norway. Remlit, tackling ocean pollution from tooth to surf.
Hey folks, you're invited to tune in to Grenada Music to the World program hosted by Eugene Gittens on Saturday mornings from 10 a.m. to 12 noon on Classic Radio 105.5, 105.9, Hot FM 98.5, 98.7, GBN TV, and all their social media platforms. The only totally local music program in Grenada, representing all genres of music. So it's Green's Music to the World on Saturday mornings from 10 a.m. to 12 noon on GBN with the music icon himself, Mr. Eugene Gittens. See you then.
Five things you need to know about self-isolation. Stay home. If you are told to self-isolate, it means staying at home, not going to work, school, or other public places, and you should not have any visitors. Separate yourself. If you live with others, then you need to stay in a well-ventilated bedroom with the door shut. If you have to share a bathroom, then use it after everyone else. Don't share towels and toiletries, as this may put others at risk. Call ahead. If you develop symptoms such as a fever or cough, then seek advice first by calling the Ministry of Health's hotline at 538 458-4787 or 458-4787. Please do not show up at a medical center or hospital, as this may put others at risk. Take care with waste. If you test positive, your waste should be double bagged and disposed of separately. Create a buddy system. If you live on your own, you can plan with friends and family to check in with each other and run essential errands if one becomes sick. Once sick, they should leave groceries on the doorstep. Why it's important. COVID-19 causes a mild illness for 4 out of 5 persons.
Welcome back to The Point. We're speaking with clinical psychologist Dr. Augustine Panchoo, and the topic on the front burner this morning, protecting our children. We really want to delve into some of the issues that are affecting our children and how we can continue to protect them and keep them safe from predators, whichever form of abuse they may want to use, how we can protect them. At this point in the program, we're going to open the phone lines and the social media platforms for comments, questions, queries, concerns. The landline number 435-2041. That's also WhatsApp. Please only written messages on WhatsApp, and continue to post your comments, questions on Facebook and YouTube. Our first caller this morning. Good morning, caller.
Morning, Blossom, and morning to Dr. Panchoo, and morning to the viewers and the listeners of your medium. The thing about it, I have a background in social work, community development, and activism, and so on. So I can feel the frustration and maybe doctor is fixing, but I want to raise a few issues. One, we want to make blood out of stone, it was seen as though, because for me, we have to start from the beginning. We have not asking the question why it is that we have a society like the kind we have. We have to ask the question also, who makes the law? The same people we elect in Parliament are the ones who make the law, and do they have the vision, do they have the understanding of what kind of law we need, and that we need to create a society that could, in the long term, create the human beings that we need. Also, the idea that community, I think we need to be, one of the things I find lacking is integrity, honesty. We're not honest people. Inspector said it on your program, one of your programs, Blossom, that we are hypocrites. I would say we are not honest. We are not honest people generally. And I think unless we become honest, face the truth, look at things as is, and find solutions, then we will not. And in this case, we keep talking about community. There's no community in Grenada. There's only a cluster of people living. There's no sense of community. I grew up in a time when, notwithstanding political divide, religious divide, there was a sense of community. Right now, there's no sense. And if you talk to people, honestly, everybody's living for themselves. We have promoted individualism. I for myself, me for me. And the thing about it, especially in a situation where we have the kind of challenge facing us with the COVID and so on, we are still fostering and promoting individualism. It's sad, but that is the case, and we need to face. Let me end here. The enemy or the opposite of knowledge is not ignorance. It is the illusion of knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doc.
Yeah, thank you, caller. That you have laid it really plain and simple. And I will not steal your thunder. There are a couple things that I really think is resonating with me, and it's going to resonate with society, is that we have lost Blossom. We have lost a lot of our community spirit. I'm not saying that we have totally lost everything, because when there is a need, our people come out. They come out and support. When there is a need in the community. We still band ourselves together. Granted, we band ourselves with our phones and all of that too, right? That's a goal. But we have lost, I think, as a community, authentic community from a sociological perspective, we have lost that close-knittedness. We have gravitated towards a lot of individualistic aspirations. You know, we want, and I think people have always wanted the best, but we have lost the maroon spirit. We have lost the that kind of togetherness spirit. I think we have lost some of it, not all of it. We have lost some of it. And thank you, caller, for talking about that. Yes, I agree with you also. You know, ignorance is not the absence of knowledge; it's the illusion that we can't find it. We don't know where it is. Yes. Wow. We have, let me say this quickly. Oh, you wanted to say something?
No,
awesome.
go ahead
and ask me.
I was going to say in speaking of lack of community spirit, how much of a difference that has made from times gone by to now, because we hear stories of yesteryear where if you do something down the road, Miss Mary beat you, and by the time you reach home, she called mommy already and mommy give you more blows. These days, if Miss Mary hit you, mommy coming and cussing Miss Mary for hitting she child. How much has that affected the way that we are unable to fully protect our children?
Well, I tell you this, Blossom, let's not talk about just Miss Mary or Mr. George, right? But let's just talk about teachers, okay? My heart, I mean, I have been a teacher all my life. That's the only thing that I know how to do, right? Since a teenager, I have been a teacher. But watch this. You have parents going into school and fighting with teachers who have who purpose in their spirit and that's their mission to protect lives, right? Now we're talking about a teacher here who has betrayed that trust, okay? So he's what we call the bad apple. And so we have a couple bad apples. And we shouldn't have any bad apples in the teaching profession, right? But we do have. And so the point here is that, but the majority of teachers, they have the children, the interests of the children at heart. That's what they do. And so they discipline. Sometimes they chastise. Sometimes they get angry too, because they have the human emotions as a teacher. And you may say something out of the way. You may do something out of the way, but with civility, that's easily addressed and amends are made. But then you have the parent who will come at the school or will send threats to the teacher, or will post on Facebook and intimidate teachers. So there is no question, part of this community spirit, we have lost it because now it's like, okay, Jane is going to come and get me and I'm scared, so I will not raise my voice in correcting a child, in trying to protect a child. I'm not talking about abuse. Abuse is different, right? Let's get this straight. If a teacher or another adult in the community is abusing a child, no, stop it, right? We draw the line. However, when you're making attempts to correct and to protect, and you get the backlash from the parent, your hands are tied, literally. Yeah, you withdraw. Yeah.
All right, let's phone lines. Yes, let's go back to the phone lines. Good morning, caller.
Greetings. Hey, Blasty, how are you?
I'm good.
Thanks again. Yes, I just want to give a comment on the program, and I want to look at it from two sides: before and after. Now, in terms of the before, I want to put it on the table here that what is happening now in terms of the statistics should not surprise us if we have taken a survey as to what has been happening for years now. You see, many young people, in particular young girls, they have been used time and time by persons in authority, including in the school system. If you talk to the average young lady who go through TAMCC and other secondary schools to get a CXC and so on, they will tell you what they have to go through by male teachers in order to get a good grade. Now, recently I've been thinking about this song, Blossom. I check your record. I think it was Akima Paul who had a song referred to as prostitution, something to that effect. If you can go back to your records and get a song and constantly play it, it would be good. So I am saying here, we're living in a rotten society, a corrupt society, and persons are being abused because they want progress. That is the past. Now going forward, the doctor talk about exposing children cannot think, based on their experience, and so they are being used. I want to put on the table here also. You see this social media and this modern FM stations, it is making the situation worse. And when we're talking about community effort, including your station, Sister Blossom, including your station has a vital role to play, but it is not playing that role. I stand bravely here. For years now I've been saying it. GBN, what they have done, they have split the programming into various channels. So you have one for the young people. You have one for the so-called Christian religious. You have one for main issues of what is happening now. How many young people, a young girl, a young boy, will be tuned in to this program, this current issue program now, to educate them? Apart from them being in school, but coming at them, you have given them an avenue where they cannot get good information. The doc said it. They don't have the intellectual capacity and experience to know what is out there. But you make it worse. You are part of the community, GBN. So young people go and get the wave and rag and reggae and vulgar lyrics and put them in the height. So in terms of knowledge, songness, integrity, what is good and bad, they have no clue. In fact, even my own people here have been saying health issues about the COVID, health issues about eating and drinking, keeping your body pure, your diet, and the danger out there in life. My children, my people, they don't have a clue.
Okay.
They don't have a clue. Why? They engross themselves with the Facebook and social media and in areas which do not educate them to make them go forward. So I agree with the doctor. Apart from the dictionary system have to improve, we have to understand we live in a global village, but you are making it worse for the young people. And if you take a serious survey, you recognize many young girls have been exploited in the school system.
All right.
Thanks again.
Thank you very much. Doc?
Well, he has said a lot. He has definitely said a lot. And let me make this point here, Blossom. You see the thing called trust? I'm going to watch in the television and talk about it. Trust. A child. For those of us who just did a little course in psychology or have read something, there is a famous psychological theorist called Erik Erikson, and he says that the very first thing that a child develops from birth to age 2 is to learn how to trust the world. He calls that stage in child development as trust versus mistrust. It's either the child learn how to trust the world or mistrust the world. How does a child learn to trust the world? Well, an infant, when he is hungry, he cries. When he is dirty, he cries. When he is thirsty, he cries. When he's alone and he feels that nobody's in the room with him, he cries. He cries or she cries. And they're crying out because they can't verbalize their desire and their needs. And what happens is that those of us who are parents, when we hear our child or children cry, we immediately answer and attend to the cry. So if it is feeding, we feed them. If it is potty cleaning, we clean them. We put on a fresh pamper, we powder them, and we set them again, and then they're happy. That's how children learn to trust the world. They say to themselves, when I have a need and I cry or I reach out, there is an adult in the world that's going to come. It may be my grandma, it may be my aunt, it may be my dad or my mom or a teacher. They come and they attend to my needs. The world is a safe place. So Blossom, these children are going to school, leaving home feeling safe, going to school, meeting teachers who make them feel safe. But then there come another adult, maybe a teacher, maybe a bus conductor, maybe a bus driver, maybe a shopkeeper, maybe somebody messes up their trust, because children are so vulnerable that they trust the world. They think the world is always a safe place. They don't have the experience to navigate that there are monsters out there. They believe every smiley face is a safe place and a safe person. And so when we betray that trust, we have done an injustice to not just this child, but to our country. And so that school teacher that just got sentenced, you have really hurt our nation. And I'm reading on the newspapers of another teacher that's about from the sister island. His day is coming, or their days, because it might be more than one, are coming. And for all the other males and adults who prey on the vulnerability of children, your day is coming. You may think you're getting away, but your day is coming. There is going to come a time. It may not even be the laws of the land that will deal with you. Somehow, there is a thing called karma. Somehow there is a great ruler of this universe. He's going to deal with you. That power that is bigger than all of us, it is going to deal with you, and it will not be nice.
There is a Facebook question. Somebody on Facebook is asking, have you any idea as to what steps are being taken to correct the many sexual abuse cases before the court and are continuously being delayed from calling for the past few years? Any ideas?
No, I have absolutely, my quick and correct answer is I have absolutely no idea. I have absolutely no control. I have the iota, nothing about when it is going to happen and how it is going to happen. My prayers, though, is that it is going to be expedited as much as possible. I know last year, for the last couple of months, we did have a struggle with venue, with the courts being unsafe and unsanitary and all of that. But I think I haven't heard any complaints from the judicial system. So I'm thinking that they're going to take care of the backlog and probably hasten to become current so that cases do not take 7 and 8 years and 5 years. That's way too long for the wheels of justice. It turns really in Grenada and maybe elsewhere too, much, much too slow.
Another Facebook question before I go back to the landline. Is it in the interest of the residents who are in the Bacolet facility for rehabilitation due to abuse to be housed with convicted juveniles and others on remand?
That's a very good question. Yes, in Bacolet because of the structure. And this is not an excuse, Blossom, because I wish it was different. In fact, give me $1 million or $2 million right now. I will design a place that will keep children safe from the influences of people, of other juveniles on remand and or in sentence. But with our limited resources, we have a facility where we house the 3 different categories in the same place, or in close proximity on campus, okay? And so they go to school together and they get group therapy and other recreational activities they do together. And so it may not be the most ideal. I want to tell that questioner, it may not be the most ideal, but at least it is one of the safe place for children. Yeah.
Good morning, caller.
Hi, good morning. How you doing?
Morning, I'm good.
I want to agree with some of the statement the host make concerning the damage with the teacher of the children. But there are a lot of people in this country damaging our children. We have to remember the young men on the block. They will come out of the block and they will sit in our homes. They will come in our church and all over the community. But when one said trying to give them a little booklet to read to pour the mind, and the next set will come and give them a drink of rum, that is the same young people you damaging for tomorrow. So we don't take everything for a joke, but it does come back to haunt us. There are a lot of big educated people in this country help to damage the mind of our children, and you pretend that they love them. But look at what's going on. You try to represent them when they're in the courthouse, but you look to damage them when you see them on the street. How we could be so hypocrite? Have a good morning.
Thank you very much. Enjoy yours as well. Doc?
Yeah, there is no question that in our communities we need more partners to protect the children, to protect the rights of children. There was a time when a 10-year-old, in our history, couldn't go to the shop and buy a alcohol and cigarettes for your parents. And now, in most communities, I think the law has taken its stand on that. There are laws that you're not allowed to sell alcohol and tobacco until you're maybe 21. So any minor buying must, it's against the law. And I think there are many store owners and people who transact business who are now cognizant of that fact. And so they will not sell or they will not harbor people under 21 in the place of business. But there is no question that as a community, we need to continue to grow in our awareness and in our practice daily to protect the rights of children. Thank you, caller.
As we close, Doc, I want to ask this question, something that hurts my feelings. When children go to parents, guardians, adults, to let them know that they're being abused in whatever way. We have heard reports of the children not being believed. And I in my mind, yes, there have been reports of children, fabricating stories, but to me, they're in the minority. But I feel like that's part of us failing our children, not believing, or at least not investigating, not finding out, not inquiring of the alleged perpetrator. How can parents, guardians, teachers, guidance counselors, how can they weed through information being given to them and calls for assistance to know what steps to take?
Here is a really great, that's a really great question. Let me say this here. I have been informed, I have been reliably informed, I have been told of parents, mothers who have sold their children for economic reasons. They have literally sold. One person told me that the mom said, it's just close your eyes and have sex. Just, tiny person, I'm talking about a child, not a teenager, not an adult, but a child. And the response of the mother was, close your eyes and just do it so that we can eat. And so sometimes it comes down to economics, and I don't want to even use it because it sounds so cruel. But parents are willing to sacrifice the life of their child so that they can have bread, so that they can have sugar. And so it behooves us as a society to enrich ourselves and our society to the point where we do not find ourselves in this vulnerable position. Now, the Bible does say the poor you'll have with you always, but I don't know about, so we may always have some needy people and some hungry people with us always. But I think people willing to sell themselves and their children for economic reason takes us to a whole other level of educating people and making it institutionalized to the point where people now are they're championing the cause to protect our children. You can't just tell a child, close your eyes. It's only a one time. I need to get the school bag. I need to get. These behaviors are criminal, and I'd like to see parents be prosecuted when they encourage these kinds of behavior, when they enable these kinds of behaviors. And so as a society, there is no question we need to protect our children. We need more education, we need more economic opportunities, and we need stricter and firmer laws to help protect our children. Children are resilient. Most of them come through with a lot of scars sometimes, but we could reduce the scars. We could protect our children for future abuse by reducing the trauma that they face as children.
Dr. Panchoo, thank you very much for being our guest this morning. Any final tip or the most important tip that we can take going forward in protecting our children?
Yesterday I was reading and I came across a nice quote from the great poet Maya Angelou, and I want to repeat it. I did post it on my Facebook. It says, most of us, we admire the butterfly, the beauty in the butterfly, but we seldom consider the change it had to go to be that beautiful butterfly. Our children are like butterflies. And as adults and as parents and as leaders, as yourself in media, we have to understand that protecting our children is one of the things that we have to do so that our children can blossom. I'm using your last name right there. I'm using your name now. Huh? Yeah. For our children to blossom into butterflies blossom, it's important for us to consider all the things that we need to do. So we need stricter laws, we need advocacy, we need education, we need community involvement in protecting the rights of our children. And when that happens, our children are going to blossom. Thank you, Blossom.
Thank you very much, Dr. Panchoo. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Continue to be safe.
Thank you very much, and I'll see you around another time.
Yes, sir. Clinical psychologist Dr. Augustine Panchoo. The topic this morning, protecting our children. We need to play our part in protecting our children, not just from strangers, but sometimes the predators are in their own homes, in their classrooms, in the church, in the places that they frequent. Pay attention, listen, protect them. Thank you so much for tuning in to The Point this morning. I appreciate your time. It's now time for me to make way for Mid-Morning Buzz. Up next, I'll be back with you tomorrow morning, God willing. Enjoy the rest of your Monday and stay COVID-19 smart as always.